every day. I think about it every time I go to the store, I buy something, I always look at the ingredients and look at how it's made, and that's daily for me.
I think it's important for kids, for us to grow up knowing where our food comes from, that it just doesn't come from the store. Somebody's growing it, somebody's working hard to produce it.
I think about where my food comes all the time. I'm not a strict vegetarian, but I eat a lot of vegetarian meals and ancient grains, so I'm very conscious of what I put in my body.
I think organic's better. I believe that. The less additives or preservatives that we have, the better.
I've heard and read that organic is sometimes a little bit misoverstated, that they say that they use just as many chemicals on organics than they do in regular farming. So I don't know. I mean, I think the jury's still out on that as far as I'm concerned.
I think that apples that are organic taste just as good as apples that aren't.
So we want our apples nice and red and fresh and not to have blemishes, and it's pretty hard to grow them without using some pesticides.
I understand why it's needed and why people use it. I don't prefer it because of the chemicals.
I'm not certain what can be done to bridge that gap, but I definitely think there's a gap. I taught elementary school, or I do teach elementary school rather, and my kids have little idea as to where the food is they eat every day comes from. It's just they go to a big box and they buy it and bring it home. Otherwise, they don't really know what the process is in between there.
I think there is a disconnect, but it's the experience behind it. Living in a city my entire life, I obviously don't know the plight of your average farmer unless I read it in fiction. So in terms of experiences, we don't really share a lot in common. I buy his ware and he sells it, but that's where we begin and end in terms of life. And I think the only way that can change is all of these, city agricultural projects, rooftop farming, communes and coops where you can have city gardens, so people can understand all that it entails and understand why it's really not preposterous to go spend $5 on a seedless watermelon when this is all that involves to allow it to be on your table.